Bleh. I hate making videos like this. I find making these like personal, honest videos quite difficult, if you hadn't noticed, but I think I probably need to do this one. This is basically a hey, I'm back on YouTube video, but it's a little bit brutal for me. Also, yes, I've moved house, if you've been following any of that. I'm gonna do a house tour or something at some point, but it's so nice here. It was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life, moving into this place, but it's mine. And I'm really looking forward to showing it to you guys. So I have no idea if I'm even ready to make this video, but this feels like a good time to do it because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. I think I'm finally in a place where I'm like recovering enough and in a sound mind that I feel like I want to talk about it. I'm hoping that this will help other people recognize their own symptoms or help people that are also going through situations like this, because in the immortal words of Troy Bolton, we are all in this together. I'm going to put some trigger warnings because I know that that's a thing that you should do, so I'm going to do it. So the trigger warnings are anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, self-harm, and contraception. Is contraception one? I'm going to put it on just to be safe. I don't think it takes a genius to see that I haven't been particularly invested in YouTube for the last 2 years. I make the odd video here and there, but in general it's felt really difficult, draining, and performative. So to sum it up, as simply as possible, I went a bit nuts, basically. I lost my mind. This video is basically just going to be explaining to you guys what happened over the past 2.5 years and why I kind of stopped doing YouTube properly. This is not tea, this is water. Fun fact about me, I know that I'm going to die by choking because I choke all the time. I'm so bad at swallowing. That is not an innuendo. Anyway, back to the story. So it all started about 2.5 years ago. I was living in the flat with Evan, Luke, and Ellen, and I had pretty bad PTSD from getting run over by a car, which I was just not dealing with at all. So my depression at this time was mostly linked to chronic pain. My doctor knew about it. I was waiting to get surgery, and everything was just really hard. At the same time, I was trying to finish my book, and I was trying to keep up this happy persona on YouTube that people were so used to. So I completely burned myself out over the next 5 months, trying to keep on top of everything while also having PTSD. I think, honestly, I was convinced that because it was linked to chronic pain, if I just pushed through and kept going, it would just go away and it wouldn't be a problem anymore. But you guys are not stupid. That's the problem. So I started getting a lot of comments from people being like, she seems really unhappy, she doesn't look very well, is she okay? And I would get so angry. I'd be like, damn it, don't expose me. Because I was working so hard to make sure people didn't know that I was feeling like shit. It was not going well. How dare you expose me? So many friends at this time were telling me to go to the doctor, to see a therapist, and I was just like, nah, I don't need to do that. I just did not believe that what I was experiencing was gonna last or get any worse. I was so wrong. Things were gonna get so much worse. Seriously, nothing could have prepared me for the nonsense that my brain was gonna pull on me. It basically just like... So I had a little while where things started to feel like they were getting way better. I moved into my new flat with Ellen and Charlie, and I have this very clear memory of being at Buffer Festival in Canada and telling everyone like, yeah, I feel so much better. Like, I'm all happy again. I'm so ready to get into my new creative projects. This was a lie. I was kidding myself. At this point, I was basically working non-stop. I started book 2. I had all these other creative projects going on that I wasn't really talking about either. What I was doing was filling up all of my time with work so that I didn't have to think about how terrible I felt. But it wasn't until I got back from Canada that things actually started to get really loopy. What I didn't realize was I had started to develop a mild to a bad case of agoraphobia and paranoia. I don't know how you say agoraphobia, because some people have said it to me agoraphobia, a doctor said it to me agoraphobia, so I have no idea. My main symptoms were being housebound, not being able to leave the house for long periods of time, and being reliant on other people to leave the house, so I wouldn't want to go out unless I was with somebody who I trusted. Usually if I managed to get onto public transport, it was fine. It was just the getting out of the door bit that was impossible. Like, it was unfathomable. This made eating really difficult because if I ran out of food to eat in the house, I didn't want to go out. So I was ordering so much takeout. I was eating takeout every day. It was really unhealthy. I wasn't doing any exercise. I was basically just living in my bed or on the sofa. And I would just kind of jokingly play it off as, yeah, I'm so lazy. Like, I'm so lazy, isn't it so funny? Because I didn't want people to know how bad it was. And I used work again as an excuse, because I'd be like, oh, well, I don't have time to go out and get food because I'm working on so much stuff. When actually I was just terrified to leave the house. Making any online content became really difficult around this time, let alone YouTube videos. Instagram, Twitter, I couldn't get enthusiastic about anything because I was just really paranoid all the time. I was so sure that everything I was posting was a mistake, that everything I was doing was gonna cause danger. Around this time I also put on a little bit of weight because I wasn't really going out and I was eating really badly. And I'm totally fine with putting on weight, like weight fluctuates, but this was puffy and sad. I also stopped dyeing my hair pink. I stopped dressing in the clothes I liked because I just did not want to draw any attention to myself. I didn't want anyone looking at me if I had to go outside. I just wanted to kind of fade into the background. So I ended up living on my friend's sofa for about a month while I finished Rosewood Chronicles book 2. And it was after that that things got super weird. I started missing really important meetings and getting confused about what day it was and what time it was and what I was supposed to be doing every day. And there was one morning where I woke up for a meeting at my publisher's office where we were supposed to be doing some filming, and I had my very first voice in my head. This was the first one. I know that that was the day. I need you guys to understand that I have a pretty good sense of humor about stuff. Like, I'm quite rational. It's my number one tool against things like this, which is probably why I'm okay talking about it and why it never got to like a really, really bad point, even when I was literally hearing voices in my head. So this voice in my head, I knew it wasn't real. I knew it was coming from inside my brain. I was never at a point where I was like, oh my god, there's people around me. But there was literally nothing I could do to stop it. Even though I knew it wasn't real, that didn't help. It basically sounded like this. I'm gonna try and do an impression of it. You're a stupid fucking bitch. You're a fucking dumb, ugly bitch. You're so stupid. Get out of bed, you fucking dumb idiot. Go have a shower. You're literally ruining everything. You're a fucking idiot. You're gonna fuck everything up, you stupid, ugly bitch. It was basically like a second person narrator of my life in my own voice, but just really mean. So yeah, that pretty much happened whenever I was on my own. So I didn't want to be on my own anymore, but I also wanted extreme isolation, which was a big problem. So I started sleeping on the sofas of friends' houses all the time. People who I knew would be in all day, who didn't have full-time jobs, because my housemates both had full-time jobs, so I couldn't have them around all the time. I hired an editor for the few YouTube videos I could muster making, because I hated looking at myself, I hated hearing my voice. It was all bad, sad. So the final straw, the moment I was like, okay, bitch, time to go see a doctor, was when I started hearing what I call fake news reports. This definitely went hand in hand with my agoraphobia and paranoia. So if I did manage to leave the house, say I was on public transport or on like a bus or something, I'd hear what sounded like a TV from another room playing the news. So it was like they had the volume turned up and I was overhearing it. So say I was on the tube, it would go something like this. 15 dead in freak London Underground crash. One of the dead was 24-year-old YouTuber and writer Connie Glynn. So I would basically be hearing a news report that was like in the future talking about how I died. And I knew it was in my head. Like, I wasn't that far gone that I thought these things I was hearing were real. But a small part of me would still be like, oh my fucking god, this is a premonition. I'm gonna die. I have to get off this tube right now, or I'm gonna be in this freak tube crash. Because you would, you know, you would think it was a premonition. Or maybe I'm just crazy. Get it? Because I literally am. So finally, I went to my doctor again. And I was like, something's not right. My head's a mess. Things are weird. So the doctor I was seeing, she had a look through my notes and she was like, okay, well, for starters, you're on this contraceptive pill, which you're absolutely not supposed to be on. And it could be affecting your brain in a weird way. So I came off the pill and I would say, yeah, about a month later, no more voices in my head. Have not had a voice in my head since then. I had been on that pill for 6 years. 6 years I've been on this pill I was not supposed to be on. Can you see Moomin in the background? Moomin, I love you, Moomin. Sadly, this was not the end. I hoped it would be, but it turned out the pill was not the cause of those problems. It was just heightening them to a weird degree. So I'm going to talk to you about an ongoing problem now. So this is hard for me, but I also think this is super important because the thing that helped me was talking to friends who also do these same things. Made me feel way less lost about it and alone, basically. So I started to live with what felt like a permanent weight on my chest. I had constant tight breathing. It was like somebody was sitting on my chest. Very uncomfortable. My anxiety and phobias were so bad, they were literally causing me physical pain. I had, and honestly I still do sometimes have, this kind of nauseating, relentless dialogue playing in my head about how I am this terrible person and I've really messed everything up and everything I've done is a mistake and I need to just hide in a ball and never talk to anyone again. This led to extreme frustration because I really thought I'd been getting better. I began to feel overwhelmed by how much work I was always doing. This thing that I used to do to kind of combat the bad feelings just became overwhelming. And this eventually led to self-injury. I'm really uncomfortable talking about this, but I'm going to do it. I think the best way to describe it is extreme anger and frustration. Whenever I was given more work than I felt I could do, and I mean I probably could do it, but my brain would just kind of switch and I'd go into panic mode just at the idea like I can't do this, there's no way this is going to get done. Especially if I was in the middle of doing some work already and I suddenly get an email being like, hey, don't forget to do this thing, I would just switch. So I would kind of get into these hot panics and that weight on my chest would feel really heavy. And I honestly, it just started happening, I don't know how, but I'd just start hitting myself really hard. Anyway, it worked. It would get rid of the stress, but it was not a good way to do it. I never really did it bad enough that I caused any lasting damage. I'm talking about this in third person, but I definitely still have a tendency to do this. If I was in public, I would just squeeze my fingers really hard into my palms to like dig into the flesh, or I would pull on my hair like this, like really hard to basically pull out clumps of hair, but it looked like I was, you know, combing my hair or something. Probably just looked a bit nuts. I still don't know what to do about this. Really strange things can set it off because I've got dysphonia as well. So sometimes if I'm stressed, certain sounds will literally make me go into this panic. The sound of dishware, for example. So if I'm in a restaurant, that's a bad place to be. So I started to hate making YouTube videos. I hated people wanting to meet up with me or expecting to meet up with me, even though they had no idea I had agoraphobia. But I'd be like, how dare you? You have no idea how busy and scared I am. I hated feeling like I had any responsibilities to anyone. Just go away is basically how I felt. So I went to see my doctor again. So I'm currently in discussion about whether I'm going to go on medication and what that medication is going to be. I don't know. I'm doing a lot of research on it. I also need to get therapy, but this is not going well. Getting a therapist is so hard because it's really expensive, but it's also just impossible to find time to do it. I'm probably lying. I'm probably just putting it off. So a lot of people have told me to completely quit YouTube just to only focus on one thing and not spread myself so thin, but that doesn't really make me happy either. Like I do enjoy making YouTube videos when I'm not ill, so that doesn't spark joy either. So this is basically where I'm at right now. I'm recovering from agoraphobia, I have anxiety, and I have a tendency to literally attack my own body in a fit of rage when I'm stressed. It's not great, but the weird thing is I'm actually doing way better than I have been over the past 3 years. Where I'm at right now is so much healthier and better than where I have been, hence why I thought it was finally time to make this video. And what I'm hoping is this is going to be the offshoot of being able to get back into YouTube. Now that I've moved into my new place, I'm settled in, things are finally starting to kind of settle down, that it can only get better from here. That's the hope. Things definitely feel like they're calming down, and over the past few months I've been doing way better. Already I'm feeling more inspired, more focused, and I was able to make this video, which is something I could not have dreamed of doing even like 3 months ago. And those like panic episodes have drastically decreased, and I can stop myself now. Before it was like, it's happening, there's nothing I can do about it. Now I can kind of feel myself doing it and be like, no, not gonna do that. I'm just gonna take things slow, and here's hoping this is a fresh start. Also, once I finally start therapy and possibly go on medication, we'll see. Oof, okay, so this is probably the most honest I've ever been on any of my YouTube channels, ever. But I know now from experience that it's so important to talk to people who have been through similar situations or who are going through similar situations. Just having that knowledge that you're not completely nuts, that other people have been through this stuff, it does help. I want people to know from listening to this that it does get better, and even when it's really bad, there are moments where it's okay. And even when it's terrible, you can have a sense of humor about it. You can call that voice in your head a little bitch. I'm still working through stuff. That's okay. It is probably going to be a lifetime journey at this point. It's all gravy. But yeah, I can already see how much better it is, how making tiny little changes in my life has made such a massive difference to my mental health already. And I'm really glad I went to go see doctors about it. Every step of the way I was constantly like going to my doctor for a new thing. And that's also one of the things I think that kept me so grounded. I couldn't really talk to my family, couldn't really talk to my friends, definitely couldn't talk to you guys, but I could talk to a doctor, and that is the most important thing. Probably. What I'm hoping is that some of you guys might be able to recognize these symptoms, or if you're going through this, to just feel less alone, because I think that does really help. Just some stuff to think about in Mental Health Awareness Month. I know it's just in the United States, but whatever. It's probably a bit of a weird, hey guys, I'm back. But yeah. I just would have felt really weird coming back to YouTube, if I can come back to YouTube now, never explaining all of this, never explaining why things got kind of weird on my channel and not what people were used to, especially because I really want people to be able to talk about this stuff more openly, and I want to kind of champion that. So let's start talking about this stuff, even if it's really hard. I've also got tickets available for my book 2 paperback event. We're calling it an event because it's just one day in Birmingham. Tickets are linked below. If you can't come, I know Birmingham is quite difficult to get to. There's going to be a bunch of tour dates for book 3, which is coming out September 5th. Please pre-order. But please do try and come to the book 2 paperback event because it's going to be really special. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it. Yeah, I'm saying. I think we're going to have merch previews basically, which is very exciting. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. And if you've stuck around all this time, special thanks. And I will see you all soon, probably. Bye.